Welcome to this explainer. I gotta tell you, I am so incredibly excited about today's topic because we are looking at an absolute staple of the freshwater aquarium that is honestly heavily misunderstood. If you think mystery snails are just these boring, slow-moving glass cleaners that you toss into a tank and forget about, well, prepare to have your mind totally blown. These guys are charismatic, highly active, and downright quirky. Because, get this, did you know these tiny aquatic pets can actually snorkel, use trapdoors, and literally skydive? Yes, you heard me right, absolutely. These little guys have adaptations that sound like they belong in a spy movie or maybe an extreme sports compilation. They literally have built-in snorkels, heavily armored defensive trapdoors, and they absolutely love to skydive inside your tank. They are going to add so much life and personality to your aquarium setup, but to keep them thriving, we really need to understand their specific needs. Okay, let's dive right into this rapid-fire roadmap for total snail success. Number 1, meet the mystery snail. 2, the perfect snail habitat. 3, feeding a hungry scavenger. 4, choosing peaceful tank mates. And finally, 5, breathing and population control. Let's get started.
Section 1. Meet the mystery snail.
Also known by their scientific name, Pomacea diffusa. These peaceful, plant-safe snails come in this stunning variety of shell colors like gold, ivory, jade, and magenta. And they have one of the coolest physical traits in the entire aquarium hobby. It's called the siphon. If you ever look over at your tank and see this long, weird tube stretching out of your snail, reaching all the way up to the surface of the water, do not panic. It is an incredible, snorkel-like breathing tube. This little adaptation allows them to pull in surface air so they can survive in water that might have low oxygen levels. Now, that being said, you should still always aim to keep your tank well oxygenated, but just watching them use this built-in snorkel is fascinating.
Right alongside that snorkel is another brilliant defense mechanism, the Operculum. You could think of it as a heavy-duty trapdoor. Basically, when a mystery snail feels threatened by a predator or if the water conditions get poor, they pull their entire body inside and snap this hard plate shut to seal the opening completely. Now, if you see your snail tightly closed up, it could just mean they're taking a rest. But it's also an adorable, yet very serious indicator that they might be stressed out or sick. So always pay attention to a closed trapdoor.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer entertainment value of these little creatures. It's this quirky behavior affectionately known in the hobby as parasnailing. A mystery snail will spend all this energy climbing the glass, getting all the way up to the very top of your tank. Then, instead of just turning around and climbing back down, they just let go. They detach entirely and base jump, floating gently back down to the substrate. It is hilarious, it's incredibly cute, and yes, it is totally normal.
So how big do these base jumpers get? A healthy adult mystery snail will grow to about 2 inches in diameter. To put that into perspective, that is roughly the size of a golf ball. It's a really satisfying size for a cleanup crew member. And with proper care and the right diet, you can expect your new golf ball-sized friend to live for about 1 to 2 years, though some well-cared-for snails definitely push past that mark.
Moving on to Section 2, the perfect snail habitat. Let's talk setup and parameters, because a tiny, unfiltered bowl just is not going to cut it for these guys.
Because they reach 2 inches and have pretty hardy appetites, they produce a significant amount of waste. You absolutely need a 5-gallon minimum tank for a single mystery snail, plus an additional 2 to 3 gallons of space for every extra snail you add. And here is your cheat sheet for water parameters. Stability is everything here. You want temperatures sitting nicely between 68 and 82 degrees Fahrenheit. You need a slightly alkaline pH between 7.2 and 8.4 and proper water hardness. Ammonia and nitrite, those must always be strictly at 0 parts per million. To make sure your habitat stays in these exact ranges, grabbing a reliable testing kit, like the API Freshwater Master Test Kit, is basically mandatory.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is honestly kind of terrifying. Acidic water will literally dissolve their shells. No joke. If your pH drops below 7.0, the water will act like an acid and eat away at their shell, leading to pitting, cracking, and eventually death. They absolutely need hard water and plenty of calcium to build and maintain smooth, strong shells. If your topwater happens to be soft, you can easily save them by dropping in a calcium supplement, something like a cuttlebone or a wonder shell, to buffer that water.
Okay, if you take one single thing away from this explainer, please let it be this. Mystery snails are notorious escape artists. A tight-fitting lid is not optional. It is absolutely critical. These curious little explorers will climb up the glass, shimmy past your filter, crawl over your plants, and they will completely leave the water just to see what's going on outside your tank. Without a secure glass canopy or a tight mesh lid, you will absolutely find them dried up on your living room floor. Keep them safe, guys. Put a lid on it. Section 3. Feeding a hungry scavenger. We need to talk about their omnivorous diet, because just letting them eat tank leftovers is simply not enough.
You really need to actively feed them. Sinking algae wafers provide a great nutrient-rich baseline for their diet, but they also absolutely adore fresh vegetables. Zucchini, spinach, and kale are always huge hits. A quick pro tip for you: boil these veggies for just a minute or two, a process called blanching, which breaks them down just enough and ensures they sink right to the bottom where your snail can glide right over and enjoy them. And again, don't forget those calcium-rich foods like snail jello or cuttlebone.
And this brilliantly illustrates how easy it is to manage that diet if you just follow a simple alternating schedule. Monday, they get an algae wafer. Tuesday is a scavenging day where they work for you, cleaning up the tank. Wednesday is a fresh veggie treat. Thursday, they scavenge again. And Friday is dedicated to calcium. It is the perfect balanced routine. Just remember to reach in and remove any uneaten zucchini or spinach after 24 hours so it doesn't rot and ruin your pristine water quality.
Section 4. Choosing peaceful tank mates. This is super important because, to an aggressive fish, those long, flowing snail tentacles just look like delicious little worms.
You really have to choose their roommates wisely. Peaceful companions like neon tetras, bottom-dwelling corridoras, and Shrimp are perfect because they'll totally ignore the snails. But you must avoid aggressive fish like cichlids, loaches, goldfish, and especially pufferfish. Puffers actually specialize in eating snails. These aggressive fish will nip at your mystery snail's tentacles constantly, forcing the poor guy to keep its trapdoors shut in fear until it eventually starves or gets eaten.
Finally, Section 5. Breeding and population control. Because if you do this right, you might just end up with more snails than you bargained for. Unlike some other aquatic snails, mystery snails are not hermaphrodites. You actually need a distinct male and female to reproduce, and keeping your water slightly warmer, around 78 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit, will usually trigger them to spawn. But here is the most fascinating part of the whole process. The female actually climbs completely out of the water to lay her eggs at night. This is exactly why you must leave a 2 to 4 inch air gap between the water surface and your tight-fitting lid. She'll go up there and deposit this massive clutch of 50 to 200 pinkish-white eggs that looks exactly like a weird bumpy raspberry. If left alone in that humid air gap, tiny, fully self-sufficient baby snails are going to hatch in about 2 to 4 weeks and just drop right down into the water.
Let's move to and see how this builds into simple population control. If you don't want 200 baby snails suddenly taking over your 10-gallon tank, don't worry, it's completely manageable and totally humane. Step 1, just check the tank edges and right under the lid every few days. Step 2, locate the unwanted clutch. Step 3, carefully scrape it off with your fingers or a razor blade. And Step 4, just place that clutch in the freezer to ensure it's no longer viable before you throw it away in the trash. Trust me, it is so much easier to remove one stationary clutch now than it is to hunt down hundreds of tiny babies later.
All right, let's summarize our recipe for mystery snail happiness. You absolutely need a 5-gallon minimum tank with a must-have, tight-fitting lid. You need hard water and plenty of calcium supplements to keep those colorful shells pristine and pit-free. And you need to treat them to a varied diet of sinking wafers and blenched veggies. There is obviously so much more to learn, so I highly encourage you to head over to the TankZen blog to read their full, in-depth guide and check out their links for the recommended gear like testing kits and calcium shells.
Which leaves us with just one final question. Are you ready to add some parasnailing magic to your freshwater tank? Now that you know they aren't just a boring algae crew, but colorful, base-jumping, snorkel-breathing pets with massive personalities, you are fully equipped to build an environment where they will absolutely thrive. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy snail keeping!